They say Africans don't read. Well, here I am, another, published with 3 books. Welcome to my podcast, Ythera Chronicles. The podcast will be mainly focusing on writing. There are very different genres in the writing industry. We have the fiction and fiction, comics and everything. So the main plan is to have other authors on set so that they can be able to tell us about their journey, their writing journey, the challenges they experience when they're writing, and they also get a chance to tell you how I landed here on the writing scene. So I started writing when I was 17, back in Mount Kinangop Girls Secondary School. How did we go about it? There's a time I've always loved reading, like literally loved reading. I remember I would read my brother and sister's textbooks. There are segments of stories where you have to read and then answer questions about the story that you've read. So we had a reading culture at home. I also remember we used to read newspaper segments, Young Nation and all. So when I joined Mount Kinangop Girls, I found a group of girls who also loved reading. Then there's a certain time there was a craze of writing stories. There's a girl by the name Dorcas. She was in a different class, so she decided to write her book. I read it, it was interesting. She had not completed the book and I decided to challenge myself. Why not try it? Why not give it a try and see how the outcome is going to go? So I took an empty exercise book. It was 200 or 120 pages and drafted my first manuscript. After I had finished, I gave it to my classmates and she read it. After she read it, she was like, nah, it can't. I think I had hurried the story. It had finished maybe too fast, but it wasn't good enough according to her. So what can a girl do? I tore the pages and started writing again. So I remember after I wrote now the second manuscript, I was able to write 120 pages and I gave it to her. She was able to read and she gave other students to read, and interestingly enough, it was good. I remember the feedback that I got from the rest. It motivated me to try it. But I never thought I'll be an author. I won't lie. I only wrote because other people were writing. Fast forward, I finished Form 4 and do the computer classes and everything. So there's a certain period where you have to wait before you join campus. And I was joining Kenya Mass in September. So I had a whole 9 months with nothing to do. So there was a teacher called Mr. Nyiri who was teaching us back in school. He was at Oxford Publishers. So remember, the book is in a manuscript, so I had to rewrite it again in a clean exercise book because the Kate had edited it partly and also my sister had also edited it. So I took it and rewrote it again on a clean exercise book and I called him up. I told him I had a manuscript, just trying it out, and I took it to him. So we meet up and he reads it. He took it and he stayed with it for a couple of weeks and came back. But knowing Oxford, they only publish educational books. So I remember the next time we met, he brought me 3 or 4 storybooks and he challenged me to read them so that I can get a concept, a genre that I could write about. So I go home, I read the genres, and he called back and to do a follow-up. Then he asked me if I was able to come up with an idea. Now, this is a different case. You have to think of a story that is going to be read in schools. When I was in Kinangop, I wrote a story that it was initially my idea, so it was easy to flow the story. But this one, it was a different kind of book that I had to write. It had to be an educational book so that it can be published by Oxford. It had to have, the target audience was different. We are targeting 13 to 17-year-old pupils who will read a book and get to learn something from it. So I write a book, still writing on an exercise book. I wrote it and I took it to him. So after I gave him, he read it and was like, the story has finished too fast. So it's either you rewrite the story or you continue. Imagine you're continuing a story that you've already finished. Like in your mind, you've already finished this story, but it's either you continue or rewrite. So me, I chose, let me continue this story. So I continued the book. The title of the book was Second Chance. So by the time I was finishing Second Chance, he had already left Oxford and he was currently working at KLB, Kenya Literature Bureau. So I finish, I give it to him, and he's like, these are the guidelines. Every publishing firm has the guidelines that they need the manuscript to be like. So he gave me what they needed. I still have the exercise book, so I went to a cyber, typed double space and everything, what they needed, the exact details that they needed. So after having the manuscript, I took it to KLB physically. And that is where the journey started. Publishing takes long. It does. Because it took more than 5 years for Second Chance, not the book that I took to KLB, to be published. I will go to the offices regularly. You meet with the secretary, you want to talk to the editor, you enter many offices, but it really took a long time. So I remember the first time I took it, there is evaluation. They read the book, they see if it's worth publication. After like 6 months, they get back to you. So I got the feedback, but the feedback came with corrections that I had to make in the book. So remember, you had already finished that book, you continued, and then they bring in new suggestions that you have to make in that book. So I went ahead, edited the book, took it back. I think I did 2 revisions, the first one and then the second one. Then after that, I gave them and they were like, it's good for publication. And the waiting continued. I waited, I visited the offices on and off, on and off. Then later on, as I continued speaking to him, was like, as you wait for Second Chance to be published, you can also start writing another book. And since that was a book that they had, like, it's a book that I really had to think about, I decided, let me try something different. Not really a set book, not really a book that has to be read in school, but a book that you can read and have a touch of life. Second Chance was totally fiction. None of any event that happened in Second Chance is true. So I had to think of another idea. Now, writing, for me, writing is all about being keen. I can't say it's all about reading many books or watching many movies, but you have to be keen. Be keen on the conversations you have with other people. Be keen on what is happening. You can get an idea from anywhere and from anything. You can be in a matatu, somebody is speaking on their phone, and then you hear a conversation, and you're like, from this you can be able, all you need is an idea, then you build from that idea. So the second one was Confessions of the Troublemakers. Now with Confession of the Troublemakers, it brings in 2 genres. It has a fiction and non-fiction. So it's all about stories that people were able to get away with. Whatever you were able to do, and nobody got to know that you're the one who did it, but you end up confessing that I did this and nobody knew. So you're the one confessing of what you did. So I wrote it, and before I took it to KLB, I met other authors, and that is when I learned about self-publishing. Second Chance has not yet arrived in the market. It's still at KLB. So I decided, let me try something else. Let me try the self-publication. Let me see how it goes. Now there's a difference. With KLB, they cater for everything. The only thing that comes at the end is you'll sign the contract, of which now you'll be getting the royalty after a book is sold. But also it takes a while, because let's face it, you're a new author in the market, people don't know you. So you're competing against known authors out there, authors that have been there for a while, and you're just entering blindly without knowing how the outcome is going to be. So I decided to try the self-publication bit. and that was with Confession of the Troublemakers. So with self-publication, you have to cater for everything. You have to pay for the publication, you have to pay for the author, you have to pay for someone to make the cover and everything. So you're the one catering for everything. And you also have to advertise, because who else will do it for you? So I decided to just do the self-publication. I did it, and the first publication, so before Confession of the Troublemakers came to the market, that is when Second Chance was finally published by KLB. So it's the target audience, like I said, is for people in school, but it also has a good storyline. It teaches people that you should not judge people by the way they look, because Second Chance is about a man who was misjudged, and later he was given a second chance later. So it kind of shows how the society judges people from how they see the person. So it tries to tell people that you shouldn't judge somebody by the way you see them. Just try to find out if this person, whatever he's being accused of, is true. Because the person in Second Chance really goes through a lot before people get to realize it was wrong identification. So it's a storyline that you get to learn. You shouldn't judge a book by its cover, literally. So it was published after a couple of years, 7 or 8 years later. So if I was to give up, I would have given up by the time Second Chance got published. So it got out with Confession of the Troublemakers. I pushed the books, social media and everything. And then I got to meet other authors and how they do the book launch and everything. You get to visit a few and see, at least get a feel of how the world of writing is like. So I was able to sell Confessions of the Troublemakers by word of mouth, and also the help of family. And also push Second Chance so that it can also be sold, and at least people can get to read how I'm able to write and structure my stories. Then at times I ask if I was an author because I copied, or it's because of talent or nature. But I also love to say I'm an author through nature, because after all the writing of Second Chance and Confession of the Troublemakers, that is when I found out that my dad had written a manuscript. Did it get a light of day? No. He took it to the printers, to the publishers, and apparently lipotea. It disappeared. So it wasn't published. So maybe there is something I inherited from him. Maybe. I'm not sure. But all I know is that I'm glad I was able to do what other people were doing. If I hadn't copied from what the other people were doing, I wouldn't be an author right now. I wouldn't have pushed myself, tried, and see if I can write. Now the two books, Confession and Second Chance, are short stories. And I have always wanted to write a longer book. And that is how I Love Feelings was born. I Love Feelings is about real life. It also has a touch of fiction and non-fiction. I say the non-fiction part because I have a feeling this book is going to connect with a lot of people. People are going to relate with it because I've written it in a way that is real time. Like when you read it, you'll be able to, if it's not you, it might be your neighbor. If it's not your neighbor, it has to be somebody. It's either your relative, but there are stories that happen and maybe people are afraid to write about them, but it's about things that happen. It also has a fiction part, of course, to spice it up, but it's an interesting read. It's longer. So I Love Feelings launch is happening on 1st May 2026 from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Kahia Coffee House. It's located at 087. The book price is 1,000 Kenya shillings. The theme of the day is a touch of yellow and black. So I'm really looking forward to seeing you on the event. This is an interesting read. for all genders, the male and the female. Trust me, whenever you touch that book, it will keep you glued till the very end. Looking forward to seeing you. We also have other guest authors for the day who will be able to come and tell us how their journey was. That was my journey. We're also looking forward to hearing how they started, how the writing experience is, and we get to learn a thing or two. And also our MC and camera person is ready for the day. So looking forward to seeing you. My social media platforms are Ythera Caroline on Facebook. TikTok is Ythera Chronicles. YouTube, Ythera Chronicles. Podcast, Ythera Chronicles. Tupatane, First May, Kahia Coffee Shop. See ya.